a clarification on the reverse grip. Hey folks, Matt Easton here. So I did a video that I uploaded earlier today. I filmed it yesterday, but I published it earlier today, talking about the reverse grip, and I wanted to clarify because some people seem to have misunderstood something I said. I am not against the ice pick or reverse grip at all when it's used for stabbing, and I'm not against it per se if it's used for cutting in very specific scenarios. What I am against is the overuse of this kind of slashing stuff, and people seem to like it when I do my dance moves, so I do some more dance moves, some Met Houston here. But I'm against the kind of overuse of this slashing stuff when it's obviously used in a theatrical movie or TV way. I was going to say movie / TV way. That's kind of a pun. And especially with swords, it's just freaking ridiculous with swords, particularly katanas. I don't know why it should be more ridiculous with katanas, and yet somehow it is. But anyway, I'm against this kind of overuse of this slashing. That's not to say there's never a scenario where you won't cut with a reversed grip. But firstly, I want to reiterate, I am actually a big fan of the ice pick grip when it's used for stabbing and hooking. And I thought I'd made this clear enough in my previous video, but some people seem to have missed this point. So I'm reiterating it now for a third time. I am a big fan of stabbing with the point down and hooking, okay? So when you're hooking, indeed, if you turn the edge inwards, it might be better to do that in certain scenarios. But either way, being able to hook and control is really useful. It's done a lot in the medieval and Renaissance treatises. And I'm a big fan of stabbing with the point down. Yes, you do lose some reach compared to the point up grip. However, you gain other things. I've done videos about this in the past. I'm not going to talk specifically about that now. So it's not that I'm against the ice pick grip or the reverse grip. I'm only against the overuse of these kind of draw cuts that you see in things like Lord of the Rings and certain other things. I think I saw it recently in Iron Fist as well. So that's what I'm against. But absolutely, there are some scenarios where, for example, if you're holding like this because you're intending to hook and stab, and you, for example, you miss your stab or someone parries your stab and you end up with the blade here and you can cut on the way out or indeed cut on the way in, then yeah, if you can do it, then why not do it? But it is a weak, it is a fairly weak cut because you don't have the structure in your arm to be able to apply an awful lot of pressure to this blade. Not saying that you necessarily need to. If your blade is against someone's neck and you pull it that way, it's going to have enough pressure to cut through their neck, cut through their arteries. So yes, it still might have a use. Indeed, even if you're fighting in armour, say with a rondel dagger, for example, with the edge out here, whichever way around the edge is, or you might have two edges, if you're fighting in armour, and this is shown in Paulus Cal, where the edge is actually used to cut through the strap or the points of a piece of armour. So if you're trying to get through the army and you're wrestling with someone, you're in a tussle, or in this case it was on the ground in Paulus Cal, and you're trying to get your point in, but you can't get it in, but you get it behind a strap, you can cut the strap, then pull the armour plate apart and start stabbing into the gap there. So absolutely, there are scenarios where you use this type of cutting, and some people mentioned about applying the edge almost like in a punching motion like this. I've got to say, I've seen this done. I'm not fully convinced about how useful that really is, because if you're doing this with the edge, why not just do this with the point, or why not do this with the edge or this with the point? I don't really understand why you would choose, if you were even if you were holding the dagger this way or knife this way, why you would choose to deliver a cut. Yes, you can cut as if you're doing a punch, but why would you? Why wouldn't you just stab with the point, which is going to be far more effective? Answers below. Feel free to educate me on this. This is not something in any system that I've personally studied, and there was I can't remember the user's name, but there was a reference to Joachim Meyer in 1570 apparently doing a rondel dagger technique where there's a cut across the face. I'd be interested to see that demonstrated and see what kind of the context of that is. So there we go. I'm not anti in all situations, cutting with the reverse grip, but I think in most, like 99% of situations, for me this grip is about stabbing and hooking. It's not about cutting, and that's the main point that I want to make. And that the way it's used in most movies is really more tells you more about stage choreography and their priorities, rather than the actual use, sensible use anyway, of knives and daggers.
What about if you're Wolverine?
What do you mean, what about if you're Wolverine?
So,
what, Wolverine holding a katana?
So there are several circumstances in which you would actually want to hold a katana like that. And the first one...
Why would you ever want to hold...
Okay, but
even if you're a blind swordsman, you don't want to hold a katana like that.
So imagine you're Wolverine and you've got your claws out, right? So you want to do a punch with your claws, okay? And you're going to punch them with your claws.
So I've got my, what is it, adamantium?
Adamantium, yeah.
I've got my adamantium claws here, and I've just gone, bam, stab.
Into their face, right? So, double kill. As you're pulling your claws out,
then I need to pull my claws out,
cutting with
and
the
then I go slash.
Bringing that through and slashing.
And they go.
Exactly. Yeah. Scenario number one. Scenario number two.
But then I could have just done stab with the claws here, and then as I pull out, cut, and that would have been a better cut.
Oh, but that leads into scenario number two, which is another reason which would be really good, where you might have your katana and hold it in an ice pick grip. So, you've been in your fight. You don't have to be Wolverine anymore, but you can be if you want to be. You're crawling across the floor. You're really, really injured, but someone's already knocked your sword out of your hand.
It's healing, though. It's healing.
You grab it with your fingertips. Grabbed it. Oh, someone's coming straight in to kill you. You're going to grip with your hand, but oh, it's gripped in an ice pick grip because that's how you've grabbed it. They're coming down, slash straight up and kill them instead first.
Upwards. Or if I'm fighting a giant. But then I could still...
Giant's not real.
But it could be an X-Man giant. Name an X.
Do you mean a Cyberman?
Whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the problem actually in these scenarios is that you don't read enough Marvel comics.
So what we've established is, if you have an adamantium skeleton and claws, or even if they're bone claws pre-adamantium, then maybe gripping a katana backwards has some use, but not if you're a blind swordsman.
Well, if you're a blind swordsman, maybe you wouldn't know which way in which you were picking up your sword. You don't know which, like you think you've gripped it the normal way, but actually the blade's pointing in the other direction, so you've actually got an ice pick. But when you pick it up, the weight of it tells you which end the sword is at. You've picked it up, oh shit, ice pick, smack in the face.
That's bollocks.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.